Hey CSE, in today's mini lesson we're going to be talking about rhetoric, which are three specific strategies that writers use and speakers use to effectively argue for specific claims that they're making. And it's commonly referred to as the rhetorical triangle, which has ethos, which focuses on the writer or the speaker, pathos, which focuses more on the emotions that come out of the audience or are intended to come out of the audience, and then logos, which refers to the context or the logical structure of the piece itself. So we'll get into those in more detail as the lesson proceeds. You will learn how to analyze an argument, and this will be important for the reading assessment. But more specifically today, as a check on whether you understand, you are going to be looking at a song of your choice to determine which of those strategies are being employed. And I'll give you some examples ahead of time in this lesson that will help you be able to identify those easier. So let's get into it. Rhetoric is the art of effective and persuasive speaking or writing. And as I said, there are three strategies that this breaks down into. And those three are ethos, which appeals to ethics, depends on credibility, expertise, and character. A lot of students struggle with this one. An easier way to maybe think of this is the reputation, a dependence on the reputation of the speaker. For instance, if you have an athlete, okay, LeBron James, say, who is modeling some shoes for Nike, okay, in an ad, right? You see him playing, shooting jumpers with some new shoe from Nike. A lot of that ad is resting on the fact that you know who LeBron James is, you know how good he is, his reputation as a star basketball player, and that the fact that he's using those shoes, that he wants to use those shoes, definitely would cause you to think, wow, he's a really good athlete. I know this. That's his reputation. Therefore, I must also think that these shoes are good as well. So that's the goal, is to convince people you're worth listening to, again, with your reputation. Pathos, and think of pathos as an appeal to emotion, right? And this could be a variety of emotional responses, but mainly it tries to switch you into that emotional mode to make a decision based on that emotion. So love, excitement, jealousy, hate. And we'll see some examples of that in a second. I think it does better to see it. And then lastly, logic, or logos, which is an appeal to logic. So this is kind of the other extreme away from pathos, right? Because, we're trying to get away from emotional thinking and more towards, strictly facts, putting that together with reasoning to come to a conclusion. And it is the rhetorician's or the speaker's job to make that connection for you so that you come to the same logical conclusion. So looking back at this example about Drake, you'll remember from last mini lesson, the argument being made there is that he's the greatest rapper of all time. And I used as evidence for that he's had more songs appear as #1 on the hip hop charts of Billboard than any other artist. Okay. So I was using logos there. I was using evidence, right? Which was the source was the Billboard Top 100. And, that's what mainly supported my argument. I didn't really use ethos because it's not like I'm a great rapper and so I can recognize great rap when I hear it and that I'm a great rapper, right? Obviously not. So ethos doesn't really apply here. Pathos doesn't really apply because you don't have an there's no emotion that I'm really trying to bring out of you to feel that way about Drake, right? I'm using strictly facts and reasoning. Only a person who was a great rapper could get as high as he did on that chart to make that claim. So that's how we can distinguish between those. Let's look at some examples. And this is sort of like these are just like quick check-ins to see if you can identify these. So sort of play along, see if you can identify what types of rhetoric are being employed. Actually, each one only really, they rely on a maximum of 2. Most of them are just one type of rhetoric. So try to find the one that's most present in these. Let's look at the first one. So we see a picture of the Hulk, and, under here, that text is a little small, but we can see it's an ad for milk, right? Got milk, and he's got obviously a milk mustache here. So which strategy is it? Ethos, logos, or pathos? Well, we know of the Hulk, right? We know him by reputation. He's incredibly strong, right? Strong enough to do incredible things. So that's kind of the reputation that we know him by. And the fact that he's being associated with milk leads us to believe that, oh, maybe I can, he's got a pretty good reputation for being strong. He's supporting milk. Maybe I should, get behind that too, right? So, and just so, right, we can see that that's where that argument's going. Let's look at another one. Love your mama, so does he. And this is a calf, a young cow. Like people, cows must have babies to produce milk. The dairy industry takes calves like Milo away from their mothers so people can drink the milk. All right. So this is a totally different approach, right? So love your mama. We see the emotion here is invoked right away, right? Yeah, most people would. Maybe there's some people that don't, but most people would. And so this is trying to get us to associate that emotion with, something going on in the dairy industry, which is this is being threatened, right? This love is being threatened. And here we got a cute calf, right? And it's being taken so that people can enjoy the milk. So this is going exactly the opposite direction in terms of conclusion as the last example. And it's using pathos to do this, right? So it's trying to make us feel emotional about the calf being taken. And it's pretty effective. Let's look at this one. New Sierra Mist Natural Lemon Lime Soda made with real sugar. It says the soda nature would drink if nature drank soda. I think there are a number of things going on here, right? So the most pressing one that we know is logos. And this is kind of implicit, but the idea that things that are natural are better is an assumption that this is playing on. And logos can sometimes do this, right? If it's natural, it's better for me, therefore I should go for things that are more natural, right? And that's not only in the can itself, but also this, this idea that nature would drink soda or would drink this if nature drank soda. So it's making that connection between things that are natural are better. This is natural, therefore this is better for me, and I should choose it over other sodas. That's the logical chain of thought. Let's look at this one. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. All right, there are a couple things going on here. As we can see, I think we can see both logos as well as pathos being employed here. So we have a picture of a baby as well as a tire, obviously drawing that connection. Pathos, it's a baby, right? And babies inspire strong emotions in people. We want to protect them, right? That there's a strong protective feeling that comes from it. But also there's logic here, right? There is this connection that we have to make between the idea that tires mean safe, the passengers are going to be more safe, and babies riding cars. And so therefore, if we want that baby to be safe, we have to invest in the right tire. And so there is a logical chain of reasoning that goes into this as well. But there's also pathos, right? It's like, think of the other choices that the author could have made there. The author could have just put a tire here. Could have put a tire on a car, right? We want to protect the car. Or could have just put another person here, maybe an ugly middle-aged person or something, right? But they chose not to do that. They chose a baby And that's particularly because, oh, it's so innocent, precious, and so defenseless. We want to do everything we can to protect that human being. And so we're going to, make that connection with the tires. All right. I think this is the last one. What strategy is this one? Burger King. It just tastes better. All right. Pretty simple here, but there is, a strategy being employed, specifically logos. And it's logical because if it tastes better, you'll want to eat it. And so that's, pretty straightforward. People, and I think there's also some other communication that's going on here too, besides simply the logic here, but the fact that it is so simple and straightforward. It's just the logo, and it just tastes better, right? When you're going out for fast food, what do you want? You want something, you don't want to cook tonight. You don't want all this complication in your diet and all these things you have to go through, maybe prepare food for yourself, or maybe go to a restaurant and sit down and go through all the steps to order. Maybe you just want to go to the drive-through and get a burger and put it in your face. And that's what this communicates is it's enjoyable, it's better, but it's also simpler, right? And that is another thing that this sub communicates a little bit beyond the logos here. So there are some other more complicated things going on here, but logos is definitely the main strategy. Okay. Let's get to your turn, identifying rhetoric in a song. So I'm going to show you guys the document that you're going to be working off of for this. That's our Q4 instructional calendar. Okay. This is rhetoric in a song. Pretty simple. It's kind of looking like what you were working on last time. You're going to pick out a song title and the artist. Give me the link if you can, so maybe I can check it out, see where the lyric is for some context. Then you're going to go into that song, and you can search the lyrics if you want on Google. That's totally fine. You're going to put in your choice of 2 lyrics here in the left-hand column. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to explain what type of rhetorical strategies you use. So ethos, pathos, or logos, as we've defined. It may be more than one. And then you need to explain how you know that. As I've more or less demonstrated with those ads, you're going to do something similar, but in writing. The points are really going to come from, 2 points for each of the lyrics you cite, and then 3 points for each of the explanation. Please, please, please remember, you do need to identify ethos, pathos, or logos. Don't just tell me oh, this is rhetoric, and then go on to explain without ever mentioning these terms. I'm mainly looking for whether you can correctly identify whether it's ethos, pathos, or logos. All right, that is the lesson for today. Please email me with any questions, and have a great start to your week.